This video is for educational purposes only. All testing is done in a controlled home lab environment. Do not use these tools on any systems you do not own or have permission to test. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And in this video of the home lab series, we're going to be taking a look at Kali Linux. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's go ahead and log in and take a look at a few things. So Kali Linux is a version of Linux that's meant for penetration testing. As you can see here, Kali Linux has a whole bunch of different tools that can be used for gathering information, privilege escalation, and so much more. In this video, we're only going to touch on a small amount of these tools. As the series progresses, I'm sure we're going to be looking at more tools, but today we're just going to keep it simple. The first tool we're going to be using is Nmap. Nmap is a port scanner. It allows us to see what ports are open and what services those ports are running. When we do Nmap-H, we see a whole bunch of options that we can use whenever we're wanting to go ahead and do a scan. First, let's do Nmap-SN and then our network. Allows us to see what devices are on our network. Here we have 3 devices on our network. We have an IP address ending in 105, and that is our Kali Linux machine. Here we have our Linux client that's ending in 104. And finally, we have our Active Directory server, which is ending in .1. For now, our target is going to be our Linux client ending in 104. Let's go ahead and run a scan on our Linux client. Let's go ahead and do Nmap-A followed by the IP address of the Linux client. With that -A, it's going to be an aggressive scan, and it's going to be giving us a whole bunch of information like what ports are open and what services those ports are running. And it looks like our Linux client isn't running much. We see that it's running SSH, port 22, but it's also running Samba, which is on ports 139 and port 445. To put it in simple terms, Samba is used for printer sharing between Linux clients and Windows clients, but we need it for enumeration. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean. So we're going to run the command enum for Linux followed by the IP address of our Linux client. Enum for Linux is a great tool used to gather information. It can show us usernames, groups, domain details. It's kind of a catch-all when it comes to enumeration. When we run it, we see that it gives us a user, and that user's name is test. Now that we have a username, we can probably try and go ahead and guess what password that user is using. So to figure out what the password is, we're going to use the rocku.txt document. And with the rocku.txt, it just has a list of commonly used passwords. With the following command here, we're just going to go ahead and unzip the rocku.txt, and we're just going to put it on our desktop. That's why it's easier for us to find. So the next tool we're going to use is Hydra. With Hydra, it's using a combination of usernames and passwords to get into a system. So for example, you could have a text document of usernames followed by the rocku.txt, and it's going to try every possible combination there is using those usernames and passwords to get into a system. In this case, we already have our username, test. Now we're going to go ahead and combine test with the rocku.txt and see if we get a correct combination of a username and password. And of course, obviously we did. We see that we have the username test and the password being password. So now that we have the password and the username, let's go ahead and try and SSH into our Linux client to see if that worked. And as you can see here, it worked. When we type who am I, we see that we are test. So congratulations, we've managed to go ahead and brute force our way into our Linux client. Next, I want to show you 2 things. Here we're logged into the Metasploitable VM, and what Metasploitable is, it's a purposely broken VM that allows you to practice different exploits and other things of that nature. And to break into this system, we're going to be using the tool Metasploit. And what Metasploit is, it's a tool with already pre-configured exploits where all we have to do is just plug in a few variables and Metasploit does the rest. So let's run a nmap scan on our Metasploitable machine. As you can see here, there's a whole bunch of different ports that are open, but we want to focus on port 21. We see that it's running an older version of FTP. So we're going to take that info and plug it into Metasploit. Let's see if that version of FTP has any exploits that we can use. So we're going to type in search, followed by the version of FTP. And we see that we have an exploit that allows us to get a backdoor into our Metasploitable machine. So we're going to type in use 0, and this lets Metasploit know that this is the exploit that we want to use. We're going to do show options, and we see here that we have a list of options right here, but we're more focused on the R host. We need to set that R host to our Metasploitable machine because that's our target machine that we're going to be attacking. So we're going to type in set R host followed by the IP address of our Metasploitable machine. We're going to do show options again just to make sure that we have the R host set, and we do. And then next we're just going to type run, and it's going to go ahead and run this exploit. And as you guys see here, it looks like we have a shell, and it looks like that we're logged into our Metasploitable machine. When we type in who am I, it says that we are root, meaning we have root access to our Metasploitable machine. So that was just a small taste of what Kali Linux has to offer. As the series progresses, I'm sure we're going to be looking at more tools that Kali has to offer. Like always guys, thanks for sticking with me, and I'll see you on the next video.